Hey guys, today I want to talk about something a lot of men struggle with, but almost no one explains properly. How to tell if she's actually interested in you, or if you're just reading into things that don't mean anything. Let's be honest for a moment. Most men don't struggle with meeting women, they struggle with not knowing where they stand. They walk away from conversations replaying everything in their head. They reread texts late at night. They start asking themselves questions like, did I say the wrong thing? Did that smile mean something? And that uncertainty slowly eats away at your confidence. Not because you're incapable, not because you're unattractive, but because ambiguity is mentally exhausting. The internet makes this problem worse. You see endless advice saying, if she laughs, she likes you. If she touches you, it's a sign. If she replies fast, she's interested. But the truth is, most of that advice is surface level and misleading. Here's the uncomfortable reality. A lot of so-called signs of interest have no real scientific backing at all. Some of them even create false hope. And false hope is more damaging than rejection. Rejection gives you clarity. False hope keeps you emotionally stuck. I want to be very honest with you. I've intentionally used gestures that people label as signs of interest on women I wasn't interested in at all. Not to manipulate them, but to keep things smooth, playful, or socially comfortable. So if someone has basic social awareness, surface-level signs are incredibly easy to fake. That's why relying on them will always confuse you. What actually matters are reactions people don't consciously control, the unconscious ones. Because unconscious behavior reveals how someone really feels. Today I'm going to give you 2 signs. Only 2. But these 2 signs are powerful enough that once you understand them, you'll stop guessing and start seeing interactions more clearly. Let's start with the first sign. And yes, it might sound strange at first. Yawning. No, this isn't a joke. Yawning has been studied extensively in psychology and neuroscience. One of the most consistent findings is that yawning is closely connected to empathy. And empathy increases when we feel emotionally connected to someone. In one experiment, researchers observed how people reacted while watching others perform simple actions. They noticed a clear pattern. The stronger the emotional connection, the more likely yawning became contagious. Why is this important? Because yawning is mostly involuntary. You don't decide to yawn, your body does it automatically. So when someone consistently yawns after you yawn, it means your presence is affecting them at a deep, unconscious level. This is also why couples slowly start to act alike over time. They adopt each other's habits, their posture becomes similar, their gestures synchronize, even their speech patterns begin to align. That doesn't happen because they try. It happens because their brains are resonating. That resonance is empathy. So here's the practical takeaway. If you're talking to her and you naturally yawn, pay attention to what happens next. If she yawns shortly after, that's not random. That's emotional resonance. Now, an important clarification. One yawn alone doesn't automatically mean attraction. Context matters. Environment matters. Fatigue matters. What you're looking for is consistency, not a single isolated moment. And I know what you're thinking. I can't just force a yawn. You're right. You shouldn't. Trying to manufacture reactions defeats the entire purpose of this. Which brings us to the second sign. To understand the second sign, you need to understand something first. When someone is attracted to you, their nervous system begins to sync with yours. They unconsciously match your pace, your rhythm, your emotional state. And that synchronization shows up as mirroring. You may have heard of mirroring as a social or dating technique. People talk about copying body language to build rapport. Yes, that can work. But here's what matters more. Mirroring also happens naturally when someone genuinely likes you. And natural mirroring is extremely difficult to fake consistently. If she's interested, she'll start mirroring you without even realizing it. Your speaking speed aligns. Your tone becomes similar. When you take a sip of your drink, she does the same. When you lean back, she subtly leans back too. Even small movements count. Touching your face, adjusting your hair, crossing your legs. One instance doesn't mean much. But when it keeps happening throughout the interaction, that's unconscious alignment. And unconscious alignment is one of the strongest indicators of attraction. Because her attention isn't just on your words, it's on you as a whole. Your presence is regulating her behavior. Now, yes, some people understand mirroring and use it intentionally. I do it myself sometimes. But even experienced people can't perfectly control their body for long periods. Micro-reactions always leak through. Timing always leaks through. That's where the truth shows up. So instead of obsessing over texts or replaying conversations in your head, start paying attention to what she does without thinking about it. Does she match your rhythm? Does she naturally sync with your movements? That tells you far more than words ever will. Now, this is the part most men misunderstand. These signs are not something you're supposed to chase. They're not something you're supposed to force. They're information. The moment you start trying to get a sign, you lose the entire point. Because now you're seeking validation instead of being present. What actually matters is not whether the sign appears. What matters is the state you're in while interacting. When you're anxious, every reaction gets overanalyzed. When you're grounded, you see things clearly. If the signs are there, you notice them. If they're not, you're still fine. And here's something a lot of men need to hear. If the signs aren't there, that doesn't mean your value is low. It simply means the connection isn't there in that moment. And that knowledge is powerful. It saves you time. It saves you emotional energy. It keeps you from chasing false hope. That's not weakness. That's maturity. Real attraction grows when you're not constantly seeking approval, not chasing, not testing, not trying to prove anything. You're just present, comfortable, and grounded in yourself. That's when people feel most drawn to you. So don't use what you learned today as a trick or technique. Use it as a way to see people more clearly. Not to control them, but to protect your own time and emotional energy. And this naturally leads us to the next topic. What actually separates men who are genuinely attractive from men who aren't? The answer is surprisingly simple. There is only one condition that truly matters. Not looks, not clever lines, not tactics or strategies. If you meet this one condition, even if you believe your looks are average or below average, you'll come across as far more attractive than men who rely only on appearance. That's what we're going to talk about next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.